It used to be called the first phase of the Riverwalk Master Plan. This is essentially going to be the largest implementation of that kind of goal so far. It includes commerce funding back from 2015 that carried its way all the way till this year, and we are now past the design phase. And in fact, that's a long part of the process, and we went through multiple revisions of design. Pretty substantial redesigns that required us to rescope the project overall. This is something that we really talked about a lot in 2021 when I brought back a Burger contract. They're the designers for the project. And so from 21, we worked on the designs according to the new commerce contract scope that we had agreed with them on. And this is the kind of culmination of all that design work. And what we have here is the bid, which is the construction contract to build it. And so the way that the bid worked in this case is that we had a open public bid, and we got 8 different construction companies that put a bid out. We got a range of different proposed costs, somewhere between, I think I actually have it here, so I can just read you the numbers exactly. Let's see. Yeah, 3,145,000 on the high end, and on the low end, we got 1,890,000. That's approximate. There's more numbers involved there. The key there is we got quite a bit of range in that, and so thankfully we got one that was actually just slightly below our engineer's estimate for the construction cost. When I said 1,890,000 and you were thinking, why does the budget statement not match that? That is because their bid does not include taxes. So when we ask the construction companies to produce the bids, it's without tax. We apply the tax number on our end with finances, who I'm indicating in the corner, and that's why you see the number $2,064,031.00. Kind of to break down, and we've already gone into this a bit, but there's a lot of that. This project's been around for a long time now, and that's why you see the total cost being pretty high. The 3,600,000. When the project has lived for I almost said 15 years. I mean, 10 years, it has had the major scope revisions. That's what's eaten into the difference. But in this case, we're actually under budget for our appropriated funding. So what the CIP has allocated for us. And we do have a bit of wiggle room at 150,000. Construction companies bid pretty on the nose on what they're capable, but there's always possibilities for things to sneak up. So don't hold me exactly these numbers. We always try to protect those and try to find opportunities to work with contractors to really keep costs under control. But this is where it is right now, according to the bid that we got. Some backgrounds on this consultant or contractor. I sometimes use the words so quick. This is Accord Contractors. They're a contractor kind of in Bellevue and Arlington and this region of the state. And they were our lowest responsible bidder, which means that we reviewed their bid in comparison to our engineer's estimate, kind of reviewed it, made sure that there wasn't sort of any anomalies, any issues with any of the numbers that they indicated, no major red flags, so to speak. Did a thorough review of all their past projects, made sure that they were, in sync with what their capacities are stated as, that they can do the project in the right amount of time, and that they were responsive with all the elements of the bid so that they followed all the addendas and things like that. And this is now the step where we are asking for permission to move forward with this contract. So I'm happy to take any questions or go into any further detail. The chart that I know that we were all very excited to look at, this is the bid tab.
That's better.
I'm not sure why it's not full screen, but I think
I went through it line for line.
You did, okay,
Everything
thank you.
looked in order.
This is the bid tab. So this is what we get. We ask all the contractors to basically break down the entire set of work that they're going to do into every single line. What I did then once I got this is compared how each item, made sure there wasn't any sort of anomalies across any of the bids, bid balancing. This is not the bid balance document because
This is one of the documents, but you had documents like this from each of the bidders.
Yes, exactly. So when I get the package from the contractor, they give us this list that you cannot see, but I'll zoom in for you to give you a flavor of the intent here. But it is a straight list of this is how much we propose it costs to do everything in the project, but they break it down into categories. So this is how much it's going to cost to do the landscaping of this set of plants, for example. You do get a bit of variation when, especially when you get 8 different contractors. But this contractor gave us good prices for the things, and the things that they bid very competitively on, we didn't think they were.
And you went through all these lines.
I was very focused on making sure that the top 2 or 3 were not going to have any errors. That's my first and foremost. And then went reviewing the past projects at the lowest bit responsible.
How are you
bidder.
doing? Do you need a pastry or a coffee or anything like that?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. This part is actually pretty easy. Excel does a lot of the work for you, right? Just to make sure that the balancing is all there. And then contacting past projects is either very fun or kind of awkward. And you can kind of learn a lot from their past projects. And so this one was pretty fun. They kind of rah-rahed their company. So yeah, there's nothing I can really take away outside of positive from there. And
Any
yeah,
questions, comments, anything like that?
Well, overall, so
yeah. Would you like me to
the
go?
overall estimated budget for this was 3.6 million and change.
That's correct.
We've already expended 3.4. And they have an outstanding contract value of $20,000 that'll come in. The current available budget is 2.2 million. And the value of this contract is 2.1 million. So we'll leave with $154,000 left in the fund if it proceeds as planned, which few things do, but at least it's the plan at this stage.
Yeah.
Okay, what I don't capture
Hmm.
or fully grab, is the tail end of the budget summary.
Okay.
If approved, would adjust value budget down by 128,340.
Yes.
How does that number fit into all this?
Thank you for bringing it up. I kind of forgot an important detail here that's future looking. So this project, me and the engineering team will be doing the predominant amount of the construction management. However, there is bridges and bridge structures in there that we would like to hire a inspector for, essentially the structural inspector that designed the project specifically. And so we have a request for additional contract amount that's going to come from this fund from that inspector, and that contract is not here with me yet. We're working it out, and it will add more to that. It'll cost more to the 153,000, as you saw. We expect by the time we've fully hammered out both this contract that I have with you today and the one I will be bringing you for a burger amendment, that total remaining fund balance for this project will be 128. So in short, we expect to have 153,000 approximately if this contract was approved. I will be bringing you another contract that will expend a little bit more, not in excess of 150,000, but it will bring it down by 25,493.
But we'll still have $25,000 left.
So of $128,000 left.
I see. So that would cost an additional 25 roughly.
Yes,
The part that it wouldn't cost the 128. Okay, got it.
I'm going to move the remainder of their scope and budget because we've completed all the design work. I'm going to take whatever the remainder of the scope and budget is, which is about 10,000. That plus the 25 is all I need for the construction inspections and submittal review and things like that. And then once we've added that into the remainder of the budget, we have only 128,000 left.
Okay, the word is just a bit,
Are you reading my screen?
The 153,833 I see is the bottom of your chart. That is the remaining
Yep.
project budget for this project.
Mhm.
It is not, however, the remaining budget for this biennium. This project, I assume, goes beyond this biennium?
Not future bienniums, but past bienniums it does. So if you're looking at this chart here, the 3,607,000 is the total project cost of the lifetime. And then we have the expenditures, how much we spent in the past, including the outstanding contract value that still exists. And then we have what this project, the ones I'm bringing you today, the 2 million is going to cost. So that's how we get that. The budget there is at the top, 3,607,000. That's total.
So if I jive the words, this project will be done within the biennium.
Yeah, yes, because the biennium ends at the end of 26.
Okay. So, all right, that leaves 100 and this project in the biennium. Okay, those words now jive.
Okay.
The 25,493, what is that, the additional bridge inspection you're talking about?
Exactly. Yes.
That'll be on this contract or different contract?
It'll be another contract. This is just for the bid reviewed construction contract. The one I bring will be a services contract. That's an amendment to the Berger contract, which is the designer of this project.
Okay. But I understand that now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a couple of quick questions, probably easier. Can you describe to me exactly where does this project begin and end? Is this all between Sandy Cove Park up to basically the Parkway up in that area?
It's a bit smaller than the length you just described. I'm gonna pull up a map. I know this is not perfect. So do you recall the White House that we recently
Yep.
demoed last?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's, if you think about it, that's almost a good center point of the
Okay.
project scope. It goes towards Sandy Cove, but there's a peninsula down here that we're not gonna be crossing.
Okay.
So I'm hoping you can see this well enough. So that White House that we demoed is right here in the center.
I see it.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you can see my mouse
Yeah, I
right
see it.
there. Okay.
I see it.
So this is the end of the project scope here.
Okay.
So it connects back into the sidewalk here. And then it mostly is moving northwest, and it takes advantage of the widening of this parcel, and it loops in here. So if you were familiar with the design plans, it has like a trail looping that goes here. And the bridges that I'm describing are actually.
Go back up right there. Go back up.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Sorry.
Is that Kimball Creek right there?
That is, yeah.
Okay, all right.
exactly. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so when I mentioned bridges, it's not over Kimball Creek. That's part of that scope amendment that happened back in 2020. The bridges are now actually over it's a wetland. It's actually some cool history here, but this
The old
rail
Crane
line.
Bridge?
That's right, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
right.
So I call it the spur. It's kind of the nickname for a few projects. But this rail line used to continue its way across the river, and it's built of, it's higher than the grade. They built it up with either riprap and some combination of other gravels, and that's still there even though they tore the rail beds out. So it's high, and more or less what it's created is a wetland on both sides. And what we're going to be doing is spanning that gap from the highest point on the far side across that low wetland to the rail bed and then across it again.
Okay. All right, and then my other question is, we've heard a lot about having to wait on Army Corps of Engineers that's for the revetment of Sandy Cove Park, right? That
Correct.
doesn't relate to this at all?
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
This project had permitting, of course, but not the Army Corps permitting. That's an in-water work permit specifically.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. How do you want to go with this one?
I'll move to council. Non-consent.
Non-consent. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Drew, did you have something you needed to say?
Well, yeah, so.
He was wondering if he had to straighten me out.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know what I'm up here for the most part. So during the last budget cycle, we've modified our budget process basically to where instead of approving a project budget for the 2-year period during the biennium, it's a life of project budget overall, which could carry over between the bienniums itself. So that's why you're only seeing really the life of project budget and not necessarily how much we may have allocated for the biennium, is because the appropriation now is for the overall life of the project itself. So anyway, just wanted to clarify that in case there was any
No, I
confusion.
remember that now.
Okay.
You're only gonna have to explain that 10 or 20 more times.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Our next agenda bill, which has a number that I memorized but don't want to say,
079.
is going to be spoken to about 071?
079.
079. 079, that's right. I remember now. You want to tell us about that one, Patrick?
Good evening, Patrick Fry, project engineer with City of Snoqualmie Parks and Public Works. And so, as mentioned, this will be AB 25-079. I have a presentation that I'll put together, or that I'll present. So if you don't mind relinquishing control. Dylan, I think this might be you. Or no, not Dylan. Thank you, Mike. Let's just share the screen. Oh, wow. Okay. So this evening, AB-25-079 is concerning the business park lift station capacity improvements, specifically an alternatives analysis for that project. So this is just kind of kickstarting this project as an alternatives analysis. Just a bit of background though. Here's our existing sewer system map. I know you can't read it at all. That's not really the intention, but I just wanted to get it out there, and highlighted in that red square is where we're going to be focusing a little bit more of depth. So let me just zoom in on that. There we go. We can probably read this now.
Yeah, probably, yeah. You don't know how old I am.
And so on this map, you'll see the pump station BP. That's the one that we're talking about here. That's located behind like the ice rink up there, or the U-Haul down the street from Safeway. So on this map, just for purposes, if you can see where Snoqualmie Parkway is written, that's where the Safeway is. And then the yellow lines shown on this existing sewer map, those are force mains. So you can see the force main leaving the BP pump station, checks out. And then the green lines and red lines on there, those are all gravity fed. And so if you are looking at this map, you can see that pretty much all of SR2, so, you know, Swenson, Jacobia, that whole neck of the woods is gravity fed, draining into pump station BP, as well as the hospital, which you'll note there's a hospital pump station, which then pumps up to where the Panorama Point apartments are, and then gravity is down from there. So this pump station is a major pump station, is what I'm trying to highlight here. It feeds, or a lot of Snoqualmie is feeding into this singular pump station. And so back in January, Snoqualmie Valley Hospital, SVH, they submitted a certificate of sewer availability. And so what that triggers for us is essentially down that whole sewer path from, you know, when it's leaving their building down to our sewer or our water reclamation facility. Is there a capacity for it? Do we, you know, have enough in the whole thing? So that's from the hospital pump station down those gravity mains. Are those gravity mains large enough in diameter through pump station BP, which then gravities down to the Kimball Creek lift station and then over to our plant? You're familiar with this likely, but just want to reiterate. And so what we found, well, actually, before we get there, here is the lift station itself, just for reference purposes. You can see the existing wet wells on the outside there. Those are just hatches. And then inside, it's a pretty bare bones building, but it's just a generator and some electrical equipment. But anyways, so what we found was the only weak point in that chain was the BP pump station. So what our general sewer plan calls out is that it has a firm capacity of 750 gallons per minute. As it stands, it's receiving estimated 711 gallons per minute. So we're already nosing right up against that 750. And the estimated hospital's additional GPM is 49. And so that would put this pump station at -10 or 10 over GPM of the estimated capacity of that BP pump station. Further, just because all of those items or all of those numbers are estimates, we did do a review of actual data. And so that gets boiled down into a lot of different ways. And the most digestible that I found was this cycles per hour in the pump. And so what's shown on this table on the x-axis is dates. That's from October till January, so the wettest times of the year, when the sewers are getting the most flow just because of infiltration and inflow plus normal flows. And then on the y-axis is cycles per hour. And so you'll note here that it's hard to read, but every little dot on there is a cycle per hour. So how many times that pump got kicked on in an hour from say midnight to 1 a.m. or from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And so you'll note that they're essentially just straight lines going across between 7 and call it 12 cycles per hour. I know, I'm sorry for the terrible chart. It's just the nature of it. But really what this is telling us though is that the pump is turning on constantly, most frequently between 7 and 12 times per hour, which is fine. That's normal, that's expected. The pump manufacturer actually has a maximum recommendation of 13 times per hour. So we're not over it, but we're again bumping right up against it. And so actually this chart is showing that the estimates, that 750 maximum and estimate of 711 coming in is probably actually pretty accurate because the pump is turning on right up to where it can, but anything more, if it's cycling 13 times an hour, that's above the manufacturer's suggested guidelines. So we need to do some upgrade.
What happens when this pump fails?
Well-
Let's say it's October
Yep,
and there's a storm
yep,
and the pump fails.
we have a backup.
What does that look like?
It's the same exact pump, so it's just redundancy. There's transfer switches, so if one of them is registering as not on or failing, or the wet well is past an alarm point, then the other one kicks on.
Or you need to do maintenance on one of the pumps.
Exactly.
You got the other
So that's, yeah, so if one of them,
is going to flow.
yeah, so there's redundancy built into the whole system. So we're not all the money is on a singular pump, but you need, I should say,
A backup.
it's a requirement to have a backup. Yep.
And as
Of
soon
the-
as you're using your backup, you don't have a backup. Is
Yeah, so
correct?
so that's when you would call in a rental pump and that would sit there as your backup while you're repairing your main pump.
And those are free, I'm assuming.
Totally free.
Okay, all right, good.
Yep.
Thank goodness. Good news.
Yep. So what's that saying is we need to do an expansion on BP lift station. We're bumping right up against that threshold. And the additional inflow from the hospital expansion is going to put us past those lines. So what this agenda bill is for a contract with RH2 to do an alternatives analysis. And so it might sound silly just to say we need to do an alternatives analysis. We'll just make the pump station bigger, right? But how? What upgrades do we need to do? What's the best path forward? And so that's what this alternatives analysis is going to be. So just in some examples of what those alternatives could be, just to give you an idea, is it could just be expanding the wet well or adding a new wet well that's adjacent to it. So that would be adding storage to this facility, meaning the cycles are less. It could mean we're upgrading existing pumps or upsizing the force main, additional flow. It could mean we're adding additional pumps, think like a jockey pump, just keeping up with minimal flows, or just another pump, like a vacuum surface pump. And so all of those are good options, but then we want to track down those a little bit further. You know, if you're adding a new pump, do we have electrical capacity for it? Is there even space for it? Same with the wet well. Is there room for it adjacent to it? So that's why we want to do this alternatives analysis where we're chasing down these ideas, finding which one's the best path forward, what's going to be the lowest cost option, but the best operational path forward. And so that's what we want to contract with RH2 to do. So that would bring, what they're proposing is bringing 3 ideas forward, not necessarily these 3, but 3 ideas forward with about 30% design, 25% design that would have cost estimates, as well as from there, a recommendation of how we want to go. All that's going to cost money, obviously. And this alternatives analysis proposed, it has a $98,850 fee. I'm just going to say $100,000 to keep it simple. Fairly standard of what we would see here. It's all hourly. And so if there was an obvious choice forward, you know, say we get 5% design down, and we just say wet well expansion is the way to go. This $98,000 might end up being a little bit cheaper just because we don't need to chase other designs to 25%. That doesn't mean that's going to be the way, but I just wanted to highlight that it's an hourly contract not to exceed 98,000. So how do we pay that $100,000? Well, unfortunately, it was not part of our CIP. We did not see
Why
this.
is that?
We did not see this project coming. SR2 is considered built out, as you are aware, and so we didn't think there was any more, well, in our CIP, we just didn't have any development really occurring up there. And so in our general sewer plan, which does account for further looking out than 5 years, as our CIP is, it highlights BP Pump Station as a developer-funded improvement, which, you know, is exactly what it sounds like. So it would be a developer-funded improvement based upon when a developer comes in and they want to build something and we need to upgrade our system, then they would fund that. And so that's what's highlighted in our general sewer plan and why it's not in our CIP.
That makes sense.
So some final considerations with this. This is just the alternatives analysis. So final design and construction is separate agenda bill. I'm sure you guys are aware, just want to make that spelled out. Design for this, the intention is for it only to be additional flow from the hospital. So we're not going to do an expansion of, 50 GPM for the hospital, then 100 GPM for good measure, because we think they're, just for,
Because SR2 is built out.
just because SR2 is built out. Exactly. Final costs are totally unknown right now. We don't know where this is going to go. Are we putting in a wet well? Are we putting in pumps? Do we have to do electrical upgrades? Do we have to build a new building? Do we have to upsize force mains? But that being said, RH2 is currently estimating that the final construction costs are probably in the range of 1 to 1.5 million. Again, that's a dart in the wall, but just to get the factors down, we wanted to have that number out there. And construction anticipated in summer of 2026, again, dependent on funding, but that's just our target at the moment, just for point of reference. And per administration, SVH is to reimburse for the proposed AB prior to bringing this AB to council. So that would be,
Explain that.
so what I was directed was that, unless I'm misreading it, but
Direction provided to us by council was that there's to be a deposit before this agenda bill went through council. We received that direction at the last council meeting.
That we would be reimbursed ahead of time.
Well, a deposit would be made prior to us beginning the work, yes.
that's it. That's what I got.
Okay, hold on,
Yep.
because I know there's gonna be questions.
Yep.
But Brian, you got anything to start us off with?
No, I mean, are you gonna ask for public comment?
I am.
Okay, I'll wait till after.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this today?
Yes.
Come on up.
He's not.
So we're
Come on over here. Go ahead and give us your name and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm Dick Bratton. I'm the owner rep project manager for the hospital, Snoqualmie Valley Health. So what I just heard was if we delayed the hospital 5 years, we wouldn't have to pay a deposit.
I don't understand what you mean.
Well, I'll get into it. We've spent a lot of time with the city in developing this project. This is about a $92 million cost of construction for the medical office building, acute care center, as an addition to the existing hospital. During the course of collaboration with the city and with RH2 and other people involved in the project, we were asked to provide substantial data early on during the design and to get the design complete enough for issuance to plan review and permit. So we've got permits in hand now for site work, core and shell. We've been constructing the project for 8 weeks, moving a lot of dirt. A lot of retaining walls have been put in place. So it's a pretty exciting time. And again, we provided adequate data, we believed, to the city through their requests and through Public Works requests for substantiation of what the hospital would contribute in these water outfall from that new building. So having said that and having meetings in April, we had communications, and I believe there was an email written to your Public Works last night from our architect of record, PJ Bowser from Malem, outlining the chronology of the events that took place and the response that our team had in requests for data. So that was in April. We kind of concluded that in May, and our feeling was on or about the middle of May that Public Works and the city was going to analyze and determine what actual enhancements or upgrades to the business park lift station would be necessary to accommodate the hospital. So we anticipated that, we expected that, we hoped for those results to come back from your team. A couple of weeks ago, Renee Jensen, the CEO of the hospital, and myself got an email from the city indicating that they're requesting our participation in the amount of a deposit of a certain amount of funds, $98,000, to pay for a study. So this is where it gets confusing for me. This could be a very simple exercise, and we thought it would be back in May, yet now there's a delay of 2 months, and we're asked to spend money that we don't have, that we would like to buy a CT scanner to fix people, and now we have to spend some money to do a study. So I had a meeting yesterday with Mike and Public Works, day before yesterday, excuse me, and I voiced my opinion about, the necessary evil of the hospital paying for this study. And we understand our obligation to pay for engineering and the construction of an upgraded lift station. That's in the conditions of our building permit. And quite frankly, 4 or 5 months ago, there was an example issued by the city that indicated that the city and the hospital would split that cost. So that's evident then, but it's no longer on the table. So I'm confused even more from that aspect. So my comments to Mike a couple days ago was I wanted to voice my opinion and passion for this project here. And I think the best outcome would be to take a real close look at what the obvious solution would be, which in our consideration and our expert opinion through our civil engineer CPL would be a wet well next to the existing, and move forward. If you go through an exhaustive study, time is of the essence. And quite frankly, if the city were to contract the design and construction of whatever option is undertaken and decided upon, and that isn't completed by the time the hospital is ready for first patient and opening, then that's a new issue and a new problem that would have to be discussed. So in all fairness, and I'm sure Renee has some comments, I have my opinions. I think what we'd like to do is leave this meeting with an expectation and understanding that we come to a common agreement over the cost of that study and not have that fully solely on the responsibility of the hospital. Thank you.
What are you basing your certainty that a wet well is the best way to go? What are you basing that on? We had several potential solutions.
Yeah, I'm not a civil engineer. I'm basing it on simply past experience, and if there is adequate real estate for that, that is the least expensive. You get into more horsepower pumps and switchgear and everything, or increasing the size of your infrastructure, the piping. Yeah, quite frankly, and this I thought of at 3 o'clock in the morning when my best thoughts come in. I'm sure you can appreciate that.
I can.
You know, if we were to engage in option 2 and provide, you know, in lieu of whatever horsepower pump exists now into, say, a horsepower pump of double the size, which really the hospital only demands maybe a third of that, then you're getting a brand new piece of equipment in a building that's somewhat old, and we'd have to figure out some sort of amortization benefit for that too. That would be somewhat complex.
Yeah.
I think.
We've got really smart financial guys, though.
I'm sure you do.
That sort of thing out,
I've
but-
seen some, you know, some
So
evidence.
but it sounds like what you're saying. Did you have anything?
No, keep going.
It sounds like what you're objecting to is the expense of the study to figure out the best solution for increasing the capacity of the pump.
That's my initial concern.
And and it sounds like what you're saying is there is, if the land exists, to your mind, an obvious solution to the problem that is also affordable.
Yeah, and it's not Dick Bratton's only thought process. It's, you know, our
You
CPL
lose
and
credibility when
PAE
you start talking
engineers.
about Dick Bratton in third person, so slow down.
No.
Okay, but I think I'm following what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I'm following what you're saying,
Yeah.
and it does sound reasonable. Patrick, do you mind coming back up real quick? Do you hear what Dick's saying? What you know this work better than I do, Butch. What do you think is the
Well, so, couple things. First, I guess I totally get what Dick is saying is, you know, we're gonna spend 100 grand. Why don't we just cut 50 grand out of that and jump straight to the wet well? And I'm saying 50 grand because about 50 grand of that 100 grand is also in, you know, doing a topographic survey. It's also putting in data loggers and getting the other valuable information that we're going to need regardless, no matter what solution we go forward with. So really it's a $50,000 alternatives analysis with 50,000 of planning for the future. And so on there in this instance, the wet well might make the most sense. But in keeping $50,000 in there, we get to do the alternatives analysis and confirm if the wet well is the best solution. And so it's the idea of spending $50,000 now to potentially save hundreds of thousands of dollars in construction later, as well as in operations later. If we just jump straight to the wet well, then we might be losing an easier or a better or lower cost alternative, or what something would be operationally preferable from our standpoint. And so I get what he's saying, where, you know, if we end up going straight to the wet well, then it'll feel like we wasted some money. But I just don't feel that way at all, especially considering that the alternatives analysis also does bring the project up to 30% design as well. And so we're talking about saving $30,000-$40,000 in the grand scheme of things, but jumping to a conclusion that our civil engineer and our team just aren't ready to jump to. Does that make some sometime.
That makes perfect sense as well. What is the estimated time we're expecting for this study though? Because another part of Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton's concern is the time element and the length of time that the study would take from their project.
Yeah, so we're expecting the alternatives analysis in November. And so then that would be promptly then bringing everything forward to you after that. And so it's 2 months. Again, not all of that is just wasted because we take a lot of that information and then move it on and roll it into the full design of everything. And again, it's just, we don't want to take on something that might be a worse product for our operation that we're going to have to hold on to and operate forever. And just to save theoretically maybe a
Right.
month of time.
Well, that month of time we discussed 2 days ago, Patrick, with Mike and your engineer calling in, and as I recall, the conversation alluded to the fact that the schedule is very tight for you guys, for the city, to do that design and construct and upgrade that pump station. To do it effectively and more quickly, again, I'll go back to the wet well. If you got the real estate, let's get on with it. Let's do it. What I speak with passion on this project, okay? And what drives me late at night to think is that what did we do right or wrong in the process of providing the city information in May, actually starting in February, and then providing that information in May, and then waiting 2 months when that information and the city's analysis of what that upgrade pump station could be or should be in those 2 months. And it was radio silent. So here we are, and I feel like, you know, I painted my deck 3 weeks ago, and I did it for the third time in 10 years because decks fail, or the paint does. This time I didn't paint myself in a corner. But I kind of feel that way right now, that the hospital has been painted in a corner somewhat to spend deposit, hopefully not spend it all, but contribute in a depository manner, 100 grand to get on with a study that we have no control over. We have no say over. We have no contractual say in it. And it doesn't feel right.
Well, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that Parks and Public Works wasn't twiddling their thumbs during that time. Your characterization of them as not doing anything during that time is unfair.
I didn't know.
Okay,
I
all right.
didn't
Well,
know.
It's a Parks and Public Works. They have tons of projects that they're working
No
on
doubt.
at all times.
No doubt. We
So
understand that.
so it's I'm listening to everything that you're saying. We're all listening to everything that you're saying. And I'm also listening to what Patrick's saying. Patrick's saying, hey, this is a project that we're going to have to take care of forever. We're gonna have to maintain this forever, and we have to make sure that we do it.
You want to do it right. I
We
get
have
that.
to do it properly
Yeah.
and in the best way to accommodate forever. And to do it otherwise, to save a month, 2 months of time that's a tough ask for a city that, especially for a city whose citizens just went through a major utility rate increase
Mhm.
to pay for
Right.
for infrastructure, a major increase in their utility rates, which is our only alternative in these situations, right? If the developer who is adding to the load doesn't participate in paying for it, then it falls to our citizens, and the rates go up even higher. Our citizens can't handle rates going higher again to accommodate more development. And so those are the things that we have to juggle. And for example, when the hotel came online with the casino, we got a huge contribution to them to increase the capacity to accommodate the hotel. It makes sense to people when it works that way.
Yeah, and I understand that.
And I'm not saying that a hospital is the same thing as a casino. It's not. And I'm not trying to, but when you are a citizen whose rates have recently skyrocketed, and you're saying, well, we've decided the moon instead of orbit, then it can be irksome to the citizens, which and I want your project to be popular and beloved and used, and that's also in your best interest for the citizens to not feel like it's a cumbersome burden as well.
No, and quite frankly, Renee, everybody on my side of the project wants that lift station to be done right. Because we don't want to be identified with contributing to well, I could use the word, but a bad lift station. It starts with an S, ends with a T, couple letters in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so, what I would like to gain from this meeting and from my rambling on here is that I don't want to, I'm in charge of a pro forma that's a big number. And $100,000 is, a couple of signs on the building. We get that, but it's the principle. And I would hope to come away from this meeting with a shared responsibility for that charge for that study. That's what I'm asking for.
When are you looking at occupancy on the new facilities?
I couldn't hear you.
When are you looking at occupancy for the new facility?
Occupancy of the building is in the end of 2026.
All right, so 18 months out. All right.
We're keying end of November 2026. We're 14 months, 15 months.
Okay. And
We're
you're
fast tracking.
You're talking 2 months for study. How much longer for build after study?
I put the schedule up on the screen for you.
Yeah, so there's the schedule up
I still
there.
can't read.
Super. It's a rough schedule, right? There's a lot of unknowns in here. But I think it's as good as a guess as we can give it at the moment. So we have the preliminary design wrapping up in November is what's shown here. That gets me back to you in January for full design. And I'm saying January because I'm accounting for the holidays. Things don't really happen too often at the end of December. And so then full design, I have us wrapping up in March. And then I have it going out to bid immediately after that, then coming to you. So that would be construction starting in June, July-ish of next summer. From there, wet wells can be, like alluded to, wet wells can be built pretty quickly. June, July, we'd be wrapped up in the fall, no problem. My biggest concern is if we have to order electrical equipment or pumps, those can have lead times, as you have heard previously before, of months. And so that's my biggest concern with the schedule.
So then the completion time of January of 27 is in anticipation that we did need to order out equipment that's going to take a long time to get. If it ends up being the simpler option, the project would be done sooner.
Could be done October, November. Yep, exactly. The January might be more if there was some earthwork involved, like putting in a new force main. Electrical equipment, it's a guess. Sometimes they have lead times of 6 months. So then that would be pushing out well into 27 as opposed to January of 27. So I'm hoping we don't have to go that route.
Right.
Or if it is, then electrical equipment is faster than it was during COVID, which is plausible as well.
Okay, he's got valid concern that we may not be ready for when they're planning on occupancy.
Yes.
I'm just trying to suss out what the issue is. I heard a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to suss out what the issue is. Is it cost? Is it schedule? But it sounds like it's schedule is your prime concern, that when you guys are ready in November, you'd like to know you could flush.
We don't want to blow up an existing lift station by opening the hospital. That would be not good. Yeah, so what are the three elements in a construction project? Cost, schedule,
Time or cost
Safety.
schedule time, yeah, say,
Shows you, I know, I was gonna say hope, trust, and
well, there's
Pixie dust.
quality, cost, schedule, safety, and
well,
my
there's
departments, we have.
there's a title cap, three
Yeah.
obvious, right? Yeah, so
I think you're being a fantastic advocate for your project, and I think that everything that you're saying is true. I also believe that our Parks and Public Works team has a different priority, and their priority is making sure that we build something that's going to last forever and that we can sustain. So I think they're both very valid perspectives,
Mhm.
and I'm happy to look at balancing them. What I do want to say is I believe that you're coming at this with the very best of intentions for the project that you're working on, and you're being an excellent advocate for it. I hope that you will consider the same is true of our Parks and Public Works team.
oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a great relationship with the city. I mean, there's been changes internally, as we know. And it takes a while for everybody to
Mhm.
get to know each other, develop a level of confidence. I mean, I work with 35 or 40 people on my construction and design team, and some of them I'm still getting to know after 5 or 6 months because it takes a while. Renee is hiring 200 people for this hospital. It takes a while for the new doctors to know Renee and vice versa. The people that I've worked with in the city, Mike and Mona, and they've been tremendous. They respond to my requests. I don't have many, but when they're out there, they're significant, and I get a very viable and educated response, and I do appreciate that. And I appreciate the efforts of the city. So,
We want you to be successful.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Chair,
Yeah,
we are almost out of time.
we've got 5 minutes. We're gonna use every last one of them.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. A couple of things, I'll keep my comments short. First of all, I want to make sure that you understand that this is your public hospital district. This is a municipality. This is not a developer. We are not a for-profit. This construction project is not about adding revenue that goes to stockholders or bondholders or anybody else. This is about developing infrastructure for our city and for our community with community assets. It improves the living here in Snoqualmie. It improves being able to recruit people to come here and just the health and safety and well-being of our community as a whole. It's not just a medical expansion, it also is a community center and a hub to bring people together. It also, another fact for this project is that it is in part of the Snoqualmie Ridge 2 development. It is one of the remaining parcels that should have been accounted for in the development of the original SR2 development project. So it's a little frustrating to hear somebody say, well, you know, it should be fully developer funded because we've already built out Snoqualmie Ridge. And matter of fact, there may not be a lot of property left, but there is some, and we are developing that for you, for the community, for the city. Also, speaking about time, we are about to issue bonds here in about a month. And we're all in $150 million for this project. It's not just the cost of construction, it's the cost of issuance, it's the cost of everything else. When we go live, as soon as that building is ready to go, regardless if you're ready or not, I have $1 million a month mortgage to pay. And if I can't occupy it with my staff that I've already hired, I have no revenue and no way to pay for that. You will bankrupt that hospital. It's a serious deal. We have to be aligned. And it's not like we've just been talking about this for a few months. We've been talking about this for over a year. This is not new. The other thing I heard tonight that I think is important for consideration is that I heard you directly say that this study was important, not just to figure out the solution for the hospital, but to figure out the future for the community and for the city. To me, that sounds like that should be a collaborative effort, not just one-sided. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I think we've answered those questions, actually, pretty directly. I think we're talking about a collaboration.
Yeah.
But we're not ready to dump more expense on our ratepayers. That's a lot to ask of them. They've already taken a huge utility rate increase this year. And to say to them, hey, we're gonna have to up it again because the hospital is gonna exceed our capacity. I don't think that's fair.
No, but hang on. Your study is based on the 50 ERUs as estimated by the hospital coming to that pump station, correct? That is the scope.
Correct.
Okay, so it's nothing more than what the hospital is putting on that pump station. No other expansions, no, West Hills, whatever. It is basically around the 50 ERUs that are coming from the hospital and what we need to have that pump station work under that load.
If we were going to do that, we would do the least expensive option to handle the 10 ERUs that were over. But smartly and rightfully so, planning for the future and what's best for the city, this study would assess both of those things. So I hear you. I understand the situation, and I'm a taxpayer too. I get it. It's already expensive to live in this community, in this valley. But also I am responsible to deliver healthcare to Snoqualmie Valley as a whole and service this community. And I'm trying to do that the best I can as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And we are out of time. Motion to adjourn?
What are we gonna do with this agenda bill? Well, I suggest we at least move it forward to council for discussion.
I'm going to allow it.
You're gonna allow it? Okay. Non-consent? I
Maybe
assume?
non-consent on this one. This is a big one. Okay. Thank you. You ready to adjourn?
Sure.
We're adjourned.